Hey, it's Big Jeff coming to you from BigJeffAudio.com. You can see I'm just Big Jeffed out today. But we're going to do something different. We've been working with these new VFL Rebel amps from American Bass. So we're going to change things up because I do see comments. We do like to change content up and I'll try different stuff. I never claim to be a YouTuber or do this for monetize or anything like that. But we do this for product awareness, brand awareness, and just good old sell product. We have been and are American Bass distributor and online seller. So we're talking about the 2400.4. And as you look to the right or whatever side here, you can see we also have the handheld SMD hooked up because we do have our dyno, we do have Basshead Garage, we do have Term Lab, we do have every way to test an amp.
We have it all.
But it seems like more and more just cost efficiency and what people believe is the quality or certified check is the SMD. Now, I do like it, and what we're gonna do is have this amp hooked up to regular speakers. Now, I'm a big fan of the SMD dyno, especially after I spent $6 grand on it.
That's a lot of money.
But not a big fan of certified, uncertified, and dynamic tracks because, or in testing, because that's not what you get in the vehicle. You get in the vehicle real life music, real life impedance up and down with rise, and that's what we're going to do some testing today on. So looking at some of these numbers, which I ain't gonna lie, we were just playing around with this before we started shooting and I was pretty impressed. Now I ain't gonna lie too, I originally hooked this up to the SMD dyno, the big boy, and in the middle of tuning I did get a pop and some smoke.
Amplifier gain to maximum.
So I'm like, oh, something happened with the amp, which is weird during tuning. Normally that would happen after you run like a 1 ohm load or things like that. So reset the amp, went back on, and then hooked it up to speakers. It was working fine.
Oh, that was awesome! That was awesome!
Now, that pop or that smoke could have been a resistor or something in the amp, non-official, but I don't know until I take it apart. So being that it was working, I said, let's hook up the handheld, run it to some massive audio hippos, which can handle a ton of power, and see what happens. The Rebel 2400.4 is technically a 425 watt times 4 or a 640 watt times 4. 640 watts at 2 ohms. You could also bridge each side, and this thing claims bridge power at 4 ohms to be 1290 watts. I'm like, no way. But I think what we're about to do, and I'm gonna test this again now, you're gonna be pretty surprised on the handheld with a massive audio hippo. We're gonna see the impedance and how much power. So we did do some unboxings, but we're gonna do a full unboxing, take this apart at the end of the video, because I know you guys hate watching all the way to the end.
We love it! We love it! We love it!
And for you that do, I appreciate that. But hit that like button now, leave a comment. You can always leave another one later on. Let's get into this. So what I'm gonna do over here is we are gonna get this amp turned on. We're also gonna get the handheld. If you notice, we have the new Big Jeff stands, which you can get on our website, which actually has the hole cut out. And we have a 1, 2, and 3 stand, which is kind of cool. And these work really good for stuff like this, or you guys doing testing at your own place. All right, so let's get to dyno power, real-time power. There we go. And the amp is on, and we have a blue light. So let's hit this play button. Okay, so that is some non-copyrighted music. You also notice that we were pegging over 2000. Now it might be hard to catch it. So I'm gonna go to dyno power and we're gonna turn this back on, see what the ohms are and what we get. Here we go. Okay, so we were up at, and don't worry about that 20,000, that's from it turning off and a spike. But I believe we were getting about, at 4 ohms, we were getting some really good power, definitely in that 2000 range.
That's good.
So let's go back. Real-time power. Let's do this again. I'm going to change the track. So you can see we're registering the impedance rise from the woofer in the box. And with what's playing through there right now, anywhere about 100 watts, 50 to 100 watts. Now, I don't care what you say, we're getting at least a steady 2000 watts between 3 and 4 ohms. And this amp is only rated at like 1900 at 4 ohms. And you can see here, 3.7 ohms, 2426. And I don't even have that really turned up. So let me go through the track again, and I'm gonna see if we can get a little bit more out of this. That's what I hate about these handhelds. One, you let them sit too long, they reset, and two, wish we could just get to where we need to go. So let's go back to real-time power, okay? And we're gonna change tracks. Okay, so the big thing I want to notice on that track, we were at a higher impedance. Let me go back over here. We're at a higher impedance and still getting close to that 2000 watts. And this amp's only rated at 1290 mono. Now, here's what I'm really impressed about is that 4-channel, for no problem at all, would run a set of 750 watt subwoofers. You'd have to have it at 4 ohms. Right? And hopefully you didn't have too much impedance rise, but that thing was still kicking out the power. A beastie of an amp that is warm, but we are running it just off power. I don't have the power supplies on. Pretty impressive. We're gonna pause this real quick. I'm gonna wire this up by stereo. Now the thing is with stereo, I also have to, well no, it'll do 2 ohm stereo, so we should be fine. Let's see what it does, the way it's wired up now, but at 4 ohm stereo, and then I'll rewire the subs. And I just want you to get more of a feel on this amp, real power, real life, real music in a vehicle. And we are running right now one Massive Audio Hippo 12 just because it can handle the power. I'll be right back. I'm Big Jeff from Big Jeff Audio. Let me rewire this up for stereo and we'll see what it does. Okay, we're back. Movie magic. All I did was change it from mono to stereo. Now, according to this, we're gonna get either 400 watts, 4 ohm, 600 watts, 2 ohm. So we have the SMD AM1 on there. I have this set to stereo, which means we're not gonna get all that power, but let's turn this back on. And then I'm gonna play the same track we were playing. Okay, so don't care at all. We were getting 800 to 900 watts stereo out of this. Okay, so the question is, and I got a couple questions, which we're gonna take apart next. What smoked, what popped? But I checked all channels and mono and everything's working right. Now, what could have went is maybe there's basically like a little diode in there that will shut off for temperature. There's a few things that it could be that wouldn't interfere with it working. The amp is decently warm, but you would expect that pushing out 2,000 watts out of this. But you just watched basically around 4 ohm. Now, to get more out of it, I'd have to wire this down to 2 ohm. And we're gonna see if this amp's gonna kick out that much more or not. Okay, so all I did was add the second woofer in the mix. That's all I did. All right, so we're gonna reset this. We're gonna turn this back on. Technically, we are at, should be right at 2 ohms or so. We got a green light. We turn this down. Okay, so the best we got there at 2.3 was 1905. Keep in mind, didn't retune. We're just running power through there. Might even be a slight clipped signal, just being upfront with you all. But we were able to get 1900 watts stereo. This amp is a beast. 1900 watts stereo, right? Which blows my mind because mono, we were able to almost get the same thing mono at 4 ohms as we get stereo 2 ohms. So overall, this thing surpasses the numbers that it says. It does say fuse rating for this thing should be a 200 amp fuse externally, which kind of makes sense with that much power output. This is the Rebel 2400.4, but this is the biggest 4-channel. There's 3 4-channels and 3 mono blocks. Now, here's the kicker and why I want to redo the 3000. We did the 3000 directly off the big dyno certified test, and it did right at the 3000. I want to see what it does hooked up with real life speakers, but then we got to get it down to 1 ohm, which I would have to totally rewire, use something else, not using dummy loads, using actual speakers. Now, I messed up the words in this, y'all can comment. That would be a resistive load. I know I used the word static load when we used to use the dummies, but somebody said it's not technically a static load. So please refresh my memory on the proper terminology. All right, this is what I'm gonna do, everybody. I'm gonna get this amp off the bench. We're gonna take it apart, take a look, see if we notice anything particular that might have smoked. But this amp did its power and then some, and it is a beast. This amp 4-channel will run the hell out of some speakers, and I mean a lot of them. Or definitely, this 4-channel is big enough and strong enough to run a set of 750 watt or a 1 or 2,000 watt sub and your mids and highs for sure. This is the VFL Rebels right here. I'll be right back. We're gonna take this thing fully apart. I'm Big Jeff.
This way you can see it before you buy it.
Hey, it's Big Jeff. We're watching the dyno, and let's not call it dyno, let's just call it testing. That was a handheld dyno on real life speakers. I'm waiting to see in the comments the proper terminology, static load, resistive load, let me know. But anyway, this is the 2400.4. We've already said it does way over its power real life. I originally was gonna hook this up on the dyno to do certified, uncertified, but as I was tuning it, I had something popping.
Amplifier gain to maximum.
Oh, but the amp worked fine. Okay, this is a full range amplifier, so you have low pass, high pass, full range. Let's get the up close and personal so you can see this a little better.
Up close.
So
personal.
You have the push button for 1 times, 10 times for the frequency. That's if you're tuning for low pass or high pass. You have high pass, full range, and low pass. You have a gain Tiffany style protect light. So it's one light does power and protect all in one. Okay, and on the other side, you have kind of like a step down. I wish the speaker terminals were a little bit bigger, but you should be able to fit probably 14 or 12 gauge in there, no problem. And then obviously this is 4 gauge. Putting out that kind of power, I would like to see 0 gauge, but it's probably sufficient enough. I would just like to see that. All right, overall, The amp itself is about 8 1/4 by a little over 2 1/4. And then if from mounting peg to mounting peg, you're right at 9 1/2. So it's a very small amp. Don't see any fans, and I don't see the vents on the bottom are not cut out, but there is venting on the side plate. So let's go ahead and unscrew.
Stop. Do not try this at home.
This bottom plate. So pretty impressive going off of the handheld SMD. It created its power, even with some impedance rise. Stereo and or mono, it did its power and then some. Well, it says 1290. We were able to get almost 2,000 out of it. And then it said 640, we were able to get over 1,000 out of it. So basically, I'm gonna say real life testing. Real life testing means on an actual woofer, you're gonna get almost double. Okay, now I'm gonna quick take a look at this. And where I saw the smoke was right here by the speaker terminals, but visually, I don't see anything. I see one thing possibly. One thing, and I'm about to show you. And I'm thinking maybe it was just some excess solder that might have did that. Okay, let me get the up close and personal so y'all can see what I'm looking at.
Personal engagement.
So we have the Rebel 2400 right there in the blue, right in the middle. We have our MOSFETs, our mini board or micro board, whatever you want to call it, Tiffany style. Now this is where I might see an issue. Okay, you see that one that says, it's kind of crappy here. Let me see if I move back a little bit. Well, anyway, that one says like ZR.2 or something like that. Well, the one next to it, I think is supposed to say that. And I don't see some on there. So that's the only thing I could see that potentially might have went. Not sure what that deals with, but it obviously didn't deal with the amp turning on or the amp playing. I do not see anything else burnt or not. So it could have just been some solder from when it was being put together. See a lot of high temp goop. Everything seems pretty secure. We have 4, none of the caps are popped. We have 4 caps. I know you're seeing it upside down. Let me turn it over. There we go. 1500 UF 80 volt. 1500 UF. So we have 4 of those. So I'm pretty impressed. I don't know if you are with the way we did it. The power output, real life.
This is real life.
That's what I'm going to start saying from now on, real life. What does real life mean to Big Jeff? Well, it is not a static type or dummy load. That's exactly on that point. It is to real speakers, and we are checking real time. When you do a dyno run, you're either doing it with 40 hertz or 1 kilohertz. You can do it with music, but maybe that's what we should be doing instead of just who's running a 40 hertz tone or a 1 hertz steady tone. But I think that's because it's a bass line, right? So running real music up and down different frequencies, I can see that being what you have in your own vehicle. And that's what we just did, and we almost doubled the power. Now, could we try to wire it down lower? No, why? It did the power almost double at the rated 4 ohm and 2 ohm. I mean, what else do you want out of this tiny little amp? So I'm happy we got them. I think the only thing next to do is actually put it on the actual dyno, but I'll leave this in the comments. Do you really care what it does on dyno, even risk it blowing up because it's so harsh when I just had it hooked up real time with real speakers with real music and you saw what it would do in your own vehicle? Let me know in the comments, and that'll make a difference on what we do with the next ones. So this is the VFL 2400.4. They will be available shortly, and they will definitely be available at bigjeffaudio.com. There is the 2400.4, the 1400.4, the 900.4. There's a 3000, a 5000, and 8000 monoblock, all in the new VFL Rebel series. All right, check it out. I'm Big Jeff from bigjeffaudio.com with real life testing, and I'm going to say dyno, and unboxing. I'll see you on the next video, and hopefully it's another American bass. We're going to try to get all those amps knocked out, so when you guys are ready to buy them, you know exactly what you're going to get. I'll see you on the next video.